Alright guys, so hello and welcome to a new video to my channel where in this case we're going to do something different. In this case I'm going to make a tier list for the factions or the towns of Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Now, this is something that has been bothering me for quite a while now, and I really wanted to make a tier list for this game because I believe it deserves it, because it's a game that we like and hate at the same time, shall we say. Because, despite all the negative aspects or issues that we can find in this game, like, for instance, AI performance, the fact that it's horrible and the AI has no challenge at all, or the graphics, some of the graphics in this game are also kind of pretty crappy. Despite all that, I still believe that this game has things that were really well made, and one of those things are the factions, okay? Factions or towns. I believe that the factions in this game were designed, in a way to be really balanced, really balanced, because all of them have strengths, weaknesses, and it's really hard to decide, believe it or not. It's harder than you might think to decide which faction in this game is the best and which one is the worst, or which one is better than the other, right? So I'm gonna try to explain to you guys, my personal subjective tier list in this case. And hopefully you will agree with me, but if you don't, well, you can always write a comment below and we can have a discussion about it, of course. But yeah, it's hard to say which faction is the best because, depending on the circumstances, on the situation, on the map that you're playing, one faction might be, better than another. But still, in a general ranking, shall we say, I still believe that the tier list that I'm gonna show you guys right now is probably, the best. Okay, so faction that we're gonna put in the S label, right? So which is the best faction in general in Heroes of Might and Magic 4? Well, I believe that you will agree with me in this case because I believe it's a pretty obvious decision. But in the S label, I'm gonna put Order or Academy in Heroes of Might and Magic 4, the Order faction. Now, why is this faction the best, in my opinion? And, I believe in many other people's opinion as well. Well, basically because, reason number one, Order Magic. Okay, Order Magic is one of those things that is, I'm not going to say 100% essential, but maybe 95, 96% because it's so good. Like, it's really great school of magic. I'm not saying that, like, Death Magic or Chaos Magic are worse, for instance. But you can always go without those, you can play the game without having Death Magic or Chaos Magic, and it's perfectly fine. I mean, you're not going to be missing anything, shall we say. I mean, yes, if you have them, it's positive, and it's going to improve your game in general. But like Order Magic, it has so many spells that are, I believe, essential. You can basically not go without them, like Slow, Precision, Forgetfulness, Teleport, Hypnotize, Create Illusion. All of those spells, Dispel sometimes, they're like super useful. They're so useful and they're always going to be good for you. They're always going to help you, always going to improve your game and, make you win pretty much every battle. Or, battles that you would not win otherwise if you don't have Order Magic, for instance. So that's reason number one. You can immediately learn Order Magic. Well, you start with a hero that knows Order Magic in your faction. So that's reason number one. Reason number two. In this faction, you can build a special structure called University, which is 5,750 gold, I believe, and a little bit of resources. And that's a really useful structure that you can build because from there, your heroes can learn for free. Well, it's not for free, you need to pay 2,000 gold, but still, it's really easy to get 2,000 gold in this game, actually. You can get that, you can build a university, and you can immediately learn with your heroes Life Magic, Order Magic, Death Magic, Scouting, Nobility, which is not that great, but still, you can learn those 5 skills. And that's incredibly useful, believe it or not. You can immediately, have a hero with Order Magic, make him learn Life Magic, and he becomes a monk later on, which is a really, well, not a great class, but it's useful. and immediately you have access to life spells, because in this faction you can also build a mage guild. You can build that special structure for genies called Clerical Library, which allows you to learn life spells as well. Okay, so life magic together with order magic is, again, another one of those schools of magic that you cannot really go without, because it's gonna make your life so much easier having life magic, you know, healing, Song of Peace, regeneration, resurrection when you get up to Grandmaster. So having together order and life magic, which are the two most essential, or two most useful schools of magic in the game, useful and essential, I believe that's huge. That's huge, and having that in one single faction is just, absolutely fantastic. So that will be reason number 2. Reason number 3, genies. Okay, so genies, in my opinion, most useful level 3 unit in the game, probably not the strongest, definitely, but of course you can just use genies for so many things. You can use them for so many different strategies. Like you can use them in 1 stacks. You can create 1 stacks of genies to use individual slow, mirth, Song of Peace. That's huge. Having that available with your level 3 units is just great. I mean, no other level 3 unit in the game is that useful. I mean, Vampire, Cyclops, those are the other great units, as you know. But those are strong. Yes, genies are not strong, but they're useful. They're really, really useful, and they're really gonna help you win a battle or win the game in general. The other level 3 unit, Nagas, yes, they're also good, of course, and they improve them with Equilibrius, in fact, making them hit multiple strikes, multiple units, or stacks. But they're still, I mean, not as useful as genies. They're good as a power stack, and if you combine them with genies, yes, if you have 2 order towns, you can build genies in one of the towns and Nagas in the other, and that's just a winning strategy, always. So that will be reason number 3, genies, of course. Then the other units, well, mages, yes, they're good. You can use them for cursing, poisoning. Halflings are good because you have a really good start with order. That's reason number 4, probably. If you start with a hero with precision and you immediately get like a stack of 50-something, 60 halflings, because you can do that when you start a game, you have a really good start because you're going to be able to easily take your sawmill, your ore pit, the nearest mines, and the closest battles, the easy battles. So the order faction is, yes, you have a really good start with that. Dwarves are just, defense, for defensive purposes. Golems, useful for some strategies when you try to negate magic, stuff like that. Then the level 4 units, well, Titans and Dragon Golems, not the best, but you can buff them, you can precision them, bless, stuff like that. So, yeah, nothing really special. I mean, you cannot compare them to other level 4 units, like dragons, black dragons, but still useful. But the best thing, yeah, the key unit in this faction, just like in every other faction, in my opinion, the key unit is always level 3, 3rd level unit. So genies, yes, fantastic. So that would be it. Those would be the reasons for me to put order in the S label, or the order faction in the S label. Faction number 2. This faction, in fact, I'm gonna place it right next in the S label, right next to the order faction, because I believe that they're like so similar, so close to each other, that it's really hard to say which one is the best of them two, which one is better than the other. They're really close, and one of them, I believe, order is slightly better than the other one. So this is the reason for me to decide to put life, or the life faction, right next to the other one. Okay, so the life faction. Now, I believe that this is the 2nd best faction in the game, again, because it's similar to order. Reason number 1, you have life magic and order magic available. You can build your mage guilds, and you have access to life spells and order spells. And you also have access to nature spells, but that's, of course, a different topic. But yes, that's also useful. So with your heroes in this faction, you can learn life and order magic. And as I said, those are just essential, really good for every single situation. Reason number 2, you can build a structure that is really similar to university, which is called seminary. You can build a seminary in the life faction. Now, seminary is just like university for 5,750 gold and some resources. You build it, and then for 2,000 gold, you can learn life magic, you can learn order, nature, tactics, and combat. You can learn all those skills. Absolutely insane. If you remember, if you have seen my campaign, the Lysander campaign, or the True Blade, I had like 4 or 5 heroes, something like that, and I taught every single hero order magic, nature magic, because I had the opportunity of doing that. And I was like, what the hell, why not? That's more spells available for every single hero, more strategies that you can use. So that was just so great, and it was really fun to play. So yeah, whenever I have the chance of doing that, of teaching my heroes other schools of magic, and you can just do that in your town, so it's really great, I will do it. And in the life faction, you can do that. So that would be reason number 2. Now, reason number 3. Well, the units in this case are not really that powerful and not that useful, if you compare them to Genius or something like that. But again, key units, level 3, you have Crusaders and Monks. Not the best, but they're really useful because you can bless them, you can precision them with your spells. They have Death Ward, which means that they are especially resilient against undead units like vampires and stuff like that. In fact, vampires have a really hard time when they try, when they suck life from monks and crusaders. They cannot regenerate enough. So like maybe if you're fighting 10 crusaders versus 10 vampires, the crusaders are gonna win probably. So that's really great. Level 2 units, nothing really special. Level 1 unit, you have a really good start. Again, just like with Order, you have a great start with Life Faction. Because you have crossbowmen that you can immediately bless, and they have really good range. They're not like centaurs or something like that. They have terrible range. Those guys have great range. Plus you can bless them, precision them again. Absolutely awesome. So again, a really good start with this faction, just like with Order. As I said, the other units are not really that great. Level 4 units now. Angels are good, what can I say? I mean, they're not the best, but from the average level 4 units, they're probably one of the strongest. And then you have champions. Champions are, the weakest level 4 unit in the game, but they're my favorite units, believe it or not, because those guys, they're absolutely awesome. You get a lot of them from your towns because they generate a lot. And then you can buff them. You can buff them a lot when you have nature magic, life magic, order magic. You can cast giant strength on them. You can cast bless, speed, stuff like that, and they have first strike already. Plus they have that charge effect, which means that the farther they go, the harder they hit. And that makes those guys absolutely insane. They can slay pretty much any enemy stack. If you have tactics, of course, to also buff them additionally. And that is just a great combination. Champions, even though they're the weakest, you can make them stronger by using tactic spells and all that. So yeah, these would be the reasons for me to say that the life faction is the second one, right next to Order, in terms of usefulness and in terms of essential magic schools, basically. Okay, so faction number 3, faction that I'm going to put in the A label. In this case, I'm going to put the Necropolis faction, or the Undead faction. Now, this is a pretty obvious decision, I would say. Basically because of vampires. Vampires are just fantastic units. I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they created them, but those guys are just great. Not invincible, of course, not indestructible, but definitely really good. You can just use 2 vampires to take a lot of fights when it comes to killing level 1 or level 2 units, so that's great. Venom spawns, Venom spawns are also good, but normally if you have the chance of going for vampires, you're not going to go for Venom spawns because, it's just usefulness. Again, which unit is going to be more useful? Well, typically vampires, right? Then, reason number 2 will be the fact that the undead units, they have the undead units are special, and they have additional strengths because, well, reason number one, they're skeletal, or, you know, ethereal, like the ghosts. So that means they have additional defense versus ranged attacks, 100% extra defense versus ranged attacks. They also have, they're also immune to some, you know, debuffing spells, for instance, just like the mechanical units. And then they're also, like, for instance, bone dragons. Bone dragons, in my opinion, are probably the second best level 4 unit in the game, after black dragons, of course. They have that special fear effect, you know, and that basically means that they're gonna hit with, you know, whenever they're hitting living creatures, they're gonna have that fear effect, make them go back. So that's pretty good. And because they're skeletal, they have a lot of HP also. So bone dragons, yeah, definitely really good unit. Really, really good unit. Devils, even though they look cool, they're not really that strong. They're pretty weak, in fact. The only thing is that they can summon those ice demons, but that's normally not really useful unless you have like a very big stack of devils, like 20 or something. But if you only have like 5, it's not a big deal. Those ice demons are not really that useful anyway. Then, the other reason is level 2 units. Like level 2 units from the Death faction, they're great, and you have Ghosts and Cerberus. Ghosts are probably the most useful level 2 unit in the game, because just like with the genies, just like in the case of the genies, you can separate them. You can divide them into 1 stacks, and you can use them to cast that nice aging effect on the enemy. You know, like one ghost hits 1 stack, then another ghost hits another stack, things like that. And you age every single stack of the enemy, which means that that's gonna debuff them, that's gonna reduce their speed, their defense, their attack. Aging is just absolutely fantastic. Of course, ghosts, I normally use them as 1 stacks to debuff the enemy. I'm not going to use ghosts as a power stack because they're not really that strong. Normally as a power stack, if you want a level 2 power stack, you go for Cerberus. But if you want useful debuffing units, you go for ghosts. So yeah, those would be the reasons for me to say that this faction is second, or the third actually, the second label, but the third faction in the ranking. So, what other things can we say about Death faction? You have imps, you have good scouts at the beginning of the game. That's also something good, yeah. Alright, next faction. The one that I'm going to put in the B label, and this is probably the most controversial point, because some of you guys will say, probably, what the hell, you're putting this faction before the other one? I don't understand. Well, let me explain to you. I'm going to put nature in the B label. Now, why do I believe this faction is slightly better than, for instance, Chaos or Asylum, the Asylum faction? Well, I mean, yes, Chaos is good because you have Medusas, you have black dragons, but look, the Nature faction has something really special, and it has a special structure called Creature Portal. Now, typically I do not like Nature because the key unit, which in every single faction the key unit is the 3rd level unit, as I said, but in the Nature faction you have the worst level 3 units in the game. You have Griffins and Unicorns. Now those guys, I mean, they're not bad, but how are you going to compare Griffins and Unicorns to Genies, Vampires, Cyclops? It's impossible. You just cannot compare that. Those guys, they usually, you get, you know, a decent number of them, but they're always gonna die. They usually die, you lose a lot of them, and what the hell, it's impossible to really make a power stack of those guys. It's not like the vampires, because the vampires can regenerate, and you're always gonna accumulate more of those guys. But it's not really gonna happen with Unicorns and Griffins. So yeah, that would be the major weakness of this town. But you know, what they did to compensate the weakness of having a good level 3 unit, is they added the Creature Portal structure. And with the Creature Portal structure, you can get additional level 4 units. You can get Mantises, together with your other level 4 unit, which is going to be, you know, or Fairy Dragons or Phoenixes. So that's a huge thing. I just cannot, I cannot skip that and say, well, I'm going to put chaos above, above nature. It's just, yes, in the chaos faction you have dragons, but the problem with dragons, black dragons, is they're really expensive. 8,000 gold for one dragon, and you only get one per week. It's just crazy. For that money, you're gonna get one phoenix and one mantis in the nature faction. So in the long run, I believe that the nature faction is just gonna be better. It's the way it is. So that would be the major reason for me. The other major reason is you can learn life magic in this town. You can learn life magic together with nature magic. I mean, you cannot learn it from a dwelling or a structure in the town itself, but you can learn it in an external dwelling, external university or something like that. But yeah, that would be it. I mean, and of course, you can also use the portal, the creature portal, to recruit water elementals, which are also really good units, really useful units. They can slow or fatigue. And of course, you can also summon like satyrs, fire elementals. You normally don't go for those, but still, you can do it. Phoenixes would be probably the best level 4 units, the third level 4 units. Number 1 will be black dragons, number 2 bone dragons, number 3 phoenixes, in my opinion, of course. It depends, of course, it depends on the situation. Maybe you want to have fairy dragons to confusion your enemies. So it's kind of a personal choice, but in terms of might power, I believe the phoenixes are the best. The third, in terms of which one is the best. So that would be it. Then the other units, well, tigers, wood elves, yes. Wood elves are really good. They're the only shooting unit that has first strike, ranged wise. And then sprites for level 1 units are really good because they're good scouts, and they're good, you can have a decent power stack of sprites because they hit with no retaliation, so that's also something to take into account. And that would be basically it, I think. Wolves, you just use them as cannon fodder, normally. Alright. C category. C category would be, as I said, the Asylum faction or Chaos. Now, this faction, it's slightly different from the ones that I listed above, because in this case, the key unit is not level 3 anymore, but it's level 2. In this case, the key unit of this faction is Medusas. Medusas are absolutely awesome, really good units. They do good versus level 4 units even. They can kill big stacks of level 4 units sometimes. In unlimited ammo, like unlimited shots, that is so freaking awesome. When they're on top of the tower, they're really annoying. Those are probably, yeah, the Ghost would be the most useful, a level 2 unit, but Medusas are definitely the strongest, and because they're shooters, they're more versatile, shall we say. So that's something to really take into account. With Chaos, you also have a decent start though. You have Bandits, which can take resources for free. They can sneak past level 1 units. That's really good. Orcs, they're not like halflings or crossbowmen. They're terrible shooters. They improved them a little bit with Equilibrus, but still, I don't think they're that useful. Then the level 3 units, Nightmares and Ifrit. Well, Nightmares I normally don't use as a power stack. I just use them as level 1 stacks to terrorize the opponent. I normally go for Ifrit because of the fire shield and because they're faster, or they can move farther, stuff like that. Not the best level 3 units, but definitely better than Griffins and Unicorns, of course. And then the level 4 units, now Dragons, of course, really strong. What can I say? 400 HP. No other level 4 unit has that. But Hydras, in my opinion, are more useful, and they're, after Champions, I would say they're my second favorite level 4 unit, because just like Champions, you can buff them a lot. You can cast nature magic spells on them, giant strength, speed. You can cast chaos spells like cat reflexes to hit twice, and they hit with no retaliation. So if you buff them a lot like that, they can become even stronger than dragons, even stronger than black dragons. So it's absolutely insane. But of course, you need to make it up to level 4 units to be able to do that. So yeah, that would be the reason for me to say that this faction is, again, slightly worse than nature, only because nature has that special structure. And now finally, in the D category, of course, I'm gonna put the Might faction. Okay, so the Might faction, why is this one the worst? Well, reason number one, you have no magic available. So that is terrible. You have a terrible start with this faction because you only have Berserkers and Centaurs. Centaurs are terrible shooters, horrible range and few shots. Berserkers, you cannot control them, so they will always, suicide. You're gonna lose a lot of them. You don't really start doing, like, you start doing things with this faction once you get up to Cyclops. Before having Cyclops, you can't really do much. I mean, it's just, if you only have a Barbarian, if you don't have, like, Might heroes, or Magic heroes, sorry, to, like, buff your Centaurs, stuff like that. If you have Order Magic available, and you can cast Precision on Centaurs, it becomes slightly better. But normally, if you only start with pure Might, you're not gonna have that. So, yeah, it's really bad, really horrible. Then, yeah, of course, the fact that you can learn no spells, you only have like the +3 and +3 attack and defense structures in your town, which is good, but yeah, how is that gonna compensate for the lack of magic? Impossible. So yeah, before Equilibrus, it used to be really hard to play this faction. Now it's easier because, to build your level 2 units, you used to need, like, for nomads, you needed to build caravans, which is 4,000 additional gold. And for harpies, you needed Citadel, which was 7,500 gold, additional gold, together with the 3k that you need for harpies. So it's like 10k gold to get your second level unit, your level 2 units. Like, what the hell? This is, it's not even that. They're not even that good. I mean, yes, they're useful, but they're not that good. So why do you ask me to pay so much? And that was, it was even horrible before this. Now with Equilibrus, it's a little bit better. The other level 3 units, Ogres, well, normally you go for Cyclops. If you have the opportunity of doing that, you're not going to go for Ogres. And the level 4 units, well, you have Behemoths and Stormbirds. I believe that they're stronger than champions a little bit. Yes, but you normally, if you cannot buff them, you're gonna lose a lot of them. They don't have first strike like the champions, so I believe that they're a bit weaker. And then Behemoths or Bears, well, yes, they're pure might strength. They improved them a little bit with the Equilibrus mod, made them a little bit faster. And that's pretty much it. They're pretty dangerous when you're fighting them with your hero alone or something like that. But if you have spells, you can just crowd control them, you can slow them, so they're not a real threat if you have the weapons to fight them, shall we say. Okay, so this would be my tier list, guys. I believe that this is pretty reasonable to have and to conclude. So yeah, as I said, if you agree with me, write a comment below. If you don't, write it as well. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I will be seeing you next time. Bye.